Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Okay, everybody, I'm here doing a video and audio podcast for the Whole Athlete Podcast with Daniel from the Gold Nugget Ghee. How are you, Daniel?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we finally got you on the show. We were talking in February this year at the Nutritional Therapy Conference, and I loved your story. It kind of matched what we talk a lot about originally on this podcast. Was all about what used to be called fit, fat, fast, where all we talked about was how endurance athletes, triathletes, we can eat more fat to burn fat and be metabolically efficient. And you kind of had your own story behind what you got into, why you got into Gold Nugget Ghee. And let's kind of go from there and talk about nutritional therapy for using ghee and what is ghee and all about ghee. So start with your story. Let's share. Go ahead and just talk about what brought you to making. I'm always impressed by going to these food shows lately because my husband works in the industry. So I've been checking out the food expos and Expo West, like these people starting new products. You guys are so impressive that you brought something to life. It's so cool. So talk about your journey.
Definitely. So in college, I was a runner, and I just started running because I wanted to get some exercise, and I just went out the door, went for a couple miles. And after a few weeks, I noticed my times would be getting better and better. And that was really motivating for me. And then after that, I was like, okay, I want to have a goal. And so I started signing up for races, 5Ks, and then did 10Ks, and then half marathons, and then marathons, and then
you got
ultra
sucked in.
And yeah, I started doing some 50-mile ultra marathons.
Brutal.
And then after that, I was like, okay, what else can I do with running? So then I got into triathlons. And I was on the triathlon team in college, and we competed all across the state. And then
where'd you go to college?
I went to Cal State Long Beach.
Yeah, who has a triathlon team in college? I don't. There's not.
I know, right? It was so much fun to go to other colleges. You get discounted races, and there's just such a team spirit in colleges, and to come all together to triathlons was so much fun.
That's great. So you got into all this endurance and ultra endurance events. And how was your performance and your recovery? Were you feeling good? Were you tired? Going to college at the same time, there's a lot of stress. So talk about kind of how you felt.
Definitely. Well, I thought that I had to eat carbs, so I just doubled what I was eating originally. And after maybe a year or two of that, I noticed that I would have these pretty wild energy swings, which I thought were normal, but I was starting to transition towards a fat-based diet and noticed that my energy was a lot more constant than sporadic all over the place. And so I started transitioning from mostly carbohydrates to a fat-based diet.
But hold on there. Where did there's a big transition period when you went from this traditional carb loading to figuring out what's the step in between that you went from oh yeah, everyone tells me to carb load and carb up and have, 500 calories every hour when I'm biking or running. And then you switched your mindset, realized, okay, that wasn't working. I need to add fat. How did you come about to that transition to your brain started thinking?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. It's interesting because so many people think we need carbohydrates and sugars to just perform as athletes. And that's just the norm. I was around people that were using sugar, so I was like, okay, I'll just use that too.
Yeah.
And we get caught up into the peer pressure, and just because everybody else is doing it, we think we have to do that too. And so kind of the pinnacle for me of that where that light bulb went off was when I did this 30-mile race, and I was using coconut water and blackstrap molasses and all these sugary things, but I was running.
They're natural. They're natural,
yeah, exactly.
Right? But they're sugary, but they're good for you because they're natural.
Yeah. Well, that kind of nutrition plan is perfect for a 5K.
Yeah.
But when you're doing an ultra marathon, you're burning mostly fat. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I like kicked myself around, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around why I was feeling so bad. So I went to the drawing board after this race where I had this major bonk and crash, and was like, okay, there's got to be something better than this. I think I was burning mostly fat. So I started reading some articles, and about that time I found ghee, and it was just like everywhere around me. Everybody was talking about it. That was kind of the peak of bulletproof coffee. And I was doing a lot of yoga at the time. And so I was getting bombarded by ghee in all directions. So I was like, okay, I'm going to like figure out what this is. So I bought a jar at the store, and I almost had to spit it out. It tasted like wax. It had like no flavor at all. And after I got to the bottom of the jar, of course I like finished it. I was like, okay, I think I should make something better than this.
What were
So
you
then,
using it for? Were you putting it in coffee and doing a kind of a bulletproof fat coffee, or were you just eating it?
I was using it for everything,
Uh-huh.
and I still use it for everything. And so after that race, I transitioned to eating more fat, more butter, and started eating meat again. I was a vegetarian for 10 years. And so I was getting so much more energy just from eating animals again, and animal products, more butter, more ghee. And
So
the
what,
next
hold
race
on
I
there.
did,
That was a big switch too. You keep switching these big moments in your life, going from the carbs to the fat. And then you went from vegetarian to eating animal meat, animal products. And what made you want to switch from that? Because that's a huge change as well for you.
I'm trying to shorten like a 10-hour story to this podcast.
30 minutes is going to be 5 hours. Sorry. It's my curiosity inside of me. So keep going. We got like 5 podcasts we can do here. So
Yeah.
continue.
So yeah, I was a vegetarian for 10 years, and the last few of those I was like the endurance athlete doing marathons, doing triathlons, not triathletes.
Could take a
and yeah, it was just this turning point of coming back from vegetarian, recovering from that, and becoming a meat eater again. That was when I discovered the importance of eating fat. And that's when I changed my whole nutrition plan, and I started just performing so much better at races after that.
So what made you design and create your own ghee? That you'd had a bottle and you're like, that's not, doesn't taste good. Because I did buy ghee when I started learning about it, and I actually finally just threw it away because I never ate it. But yours is different. So talk about kind of what, we'll skip ahead because I know I'm asking too many questions. That'll be a 10-hour podcast. But Gold Nugget Ghee, how would you ever decide to make your own? And how, I mean, you're a young guy in college, or this is after college, you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
And you're doing this. So how's that even happen? What's the motivation behind this?
It kind of just found me. So after I had tried ghee for the first time, I decided to make some for myself. And where I live up in Humboldt County, like we have probably the best dairy in the country. And so I made it with that butter, and it just completely blew out what I was buying like out of the water. And I just started making it for myself and making it for friends, and I'd put it in coffee, I'd cook my eggs in it, and I'd bring it out at dinner parties, and people would be like, what's in that jar? Tell me what that is. And so it was that drive from a few friends that just really pushed me, like, hey, you have to get this product out there. People are going to really appreciate it. And you could do well because there's only a couple ghee companies out there.
Nice. So you came out with ghee in 2016, your Gold Nugget Ghee, right?
Right.
So that's 2018 now. So 2 years you've really evolved from making something from scratch. And just backing up, what is ghee if people don't know about it?
So ghee is clarified butter. So it's pretty much a more potent butter without the lactose or casein, which are inflammatory for the body. And so it's basically like a dairy-free butter, because a lot of people are sensitive to the lactose, but most often is the casein, and that is the protein, and it actually triggers inflammation in about 85 to 95% of people, and increases your triglycerides.
Wow. So instead of having, because we always talk about Kerrygold butter, grass-fed butter, but it's better for majority of people who have, and most people don't know they're intolerant to dairy. They don't realize their dairy is affecting them because, like you said, the word normal is what I was just writing a blog about. Things, your symptoms that are unexplained start to become your norm or part of aging, or that's just the way it is. But really, you know, people can do elimination diet and take it out and then try this instead to see, okay, do you have those same reactions? Are you bloated? Do you feel gassy? Is your skin bad? Are you having breakouts? And so Gold Nugget Ghee is, like I said, clarified, and you're making it at your, do you have an office up there, factory? You get it from the cows where you live, and you're creating your own filter, your clarified butter, because you were in the kitchen earlier today. So what's your role with it now?
Yeah, I live 2 miles away from the kitchen, and we make everything in Arcata, which is a small town on the coast of California. After I had that idea of like getting nudged by a few people, I just started putting it into jars, being like, okay, just give me a few dollars, like whatever you think is fair. And it's just been a nonstop evolution since then, and it's just been getting better and better. And we've kind of just dialed in our process. And then after that, we were like, okay, what else can we do with it? And we've been using it kind of like artists use paint. And we now have like some chocolate ones, we have a goat one, and we're kind of like pushing the envelope of what people can do with ghee now.
Because the one I got in nutritional therapy conference was one with chocolate honey ghee. And then this one was just the Gold Nugget Ghee. And then you have mushroom one as well.
We have a chocolate mushroom.
Chocolate mushroom, yeah.
And that has reishi chaga and turkey tail mushrooms.
And what's the benefit of those supplements? Because I know that was a big thing at Expo West, is not turmeric, or it's a new thing after turmeric's kind of ending. Now it's all about mushroom. Why are you using that product? What's it good for?
Well, mushrooms are actually their own kingdom, like animals, plants, fungi, and there's a host of medical benefits. And we use 3 different mushrooms to give people just comprehensive overall health and support. And mushrooms are adaptogens, so people can take them either in the morning or in the evening, and they'll kind of have the same effect. There's a few exceptions to that, like cordyceps, which is more energetic. But they provide like overall health, and they're like anti-cancer, they boost your immune system. They're pretty much like perfect foods, and we should be eating them every day or almost every day.
So I see there's a lot of the teas out that have mushroom, and the shakes. I know I just use Axe Nutrition. We started selling their keto shakes at my studio, and they'll have the mushroom, reishi mushroom in that product. But is it beneficial to have it in a tea, or is it better to, cook with it, or just any ways beneficial?
I would say anyway. Yeah, but I would say to be careful of where you're getting your mushrooms, because if you're getting them from China, they can be just laden with heavy metals and just not made in the most like pristine environments. And also there's some companies that are selling the mycelium, which are not the actual mushroom like fruiting body. And ancestrally, we've been eating the fruiting bodies for thousands of years, and there's kind of this feud going on in the mushroom world between eating the fruiting body and eating the mycelium. And for our products, we use the fruiting bodies. And so they're some of the most studied just things in medical research. If you look up reishi or chaga, turkey tail, you'll see that they've helped people with cancer and diabetes and heart disease, and you name it. They're like kind of the perfect foods.
Amazing. So is your background in nutrition? What did you study in college to start your own business and get into this nutrition field?
I have quite a diverse background. I've kind of had this business since I was a kid, selling like candy to my peers in class. And then I studied psychology in college, and political science, sociology. I have 3 degrees.
Wow.
but they're all around people and like how they perceive things and just how people understand like what's around them. And so it's almost like I have like pretty comprehensive marketing background.
Yeah, that's good. Because I think having a product like this and going off on your own to start something is so inspirational. And I find we talk about my own business mastermind group for fitness industry is about finding your why and what's your purpose, what's your passion, how you're creating impact. And so I like to talk to our guests about that. You know, you said you kind of explained your passion, your story behind it as an athlete, and trying to find something. It's like, I need something to fuel my sport and fuel my brain, I'm sure as well. To bring it to life is pretty inspirational for others to, you know, be a role model and creating that impact around the world. Plus, I saw on your website, it said, you know, every sale goes to, I lost it. The buy one, feed one model. Talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get back to metabolic efficiency.
Yeah, so I wanted to like start a company that gives back. And there's just so many companies that are just in it for the money, and they are not passionate about what they're doing. Their employees like dread going into work every day.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to start a company that gives back. So we feed a child with this organization called Feed One, and they provide a meal with like every jar that we sell of ghee. And so we're giving back in that way. And then we're also going to be a B Corp company at the end of the year, which means that we pay our employees a fair living wage. And we're doing all these things to help just other generations to come. Because so much of capitalism is about like how much money can we make. It's not about like what we are going to leave the planet with like after we do this thing.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's really inspirational again. So going back to the ghee and the benefits of ghee, I was just looking at your website before we talked, but ghee says shelf life for 100 years, and it's to increase the nutritional profile and flavor with age, and like wine. And then you were talking about it has like caramel notes, nutty taste. So it is like tasting butter. Ghee is like do wine tasting. So talk about that and the benefits of the fat. What does it do for performance and inflammation, you said, but the vitamins and other benefits of having fats into our diet.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that it lasts 100 years and maybe even more too. They're still like figuring out exactly. It's kind of like honey in that way, like never goes bad. And so ghee like originally comes from Ayurvedic medicine from India, and it's cornerstone, and the medical practitioners would add different herbs and spices like based upon like what your body needs. And so it's one of the original like ancestral foods out there. And we're just starting to learn more about it, especially like in American culture where we've been demonized and told fat's bad for decades.
Have you read The Big Fat Surprise by Nina? The book, Big Fat Surprise, that's the 10 years of research she did to break those myths, habits. So if anyone wants to know what all the lies behind all the misconception and everything, misunderstanding of fat is all in that book. So go on. Sorry, I just said that's an amazing book to read about why we are where we are, why we're scared of fats.
Yeah, it's actually on my bookshelf behind me there.
Oh, good.
And yeah, we need to be eating more fat because ghee actually hydrates the body. A lot of people are chronically dehydrated and they don't even know it. And what ghee does, it like lubricates the organs and the digestive system, and just from all the sugar and wheat and just the stress that we put on our body because of all these different diverse foods that we eat, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice by just eating so many weird things. And ghee actually like helps get yourself back to that regularity, and it's actually really good at growing the flora in our guts. So it's almost like a probiotic food. It like creates the perfect environment for the good bacteria to grow.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And vitamins, we just did a whole podcast on fat recently with the naturopath, Dr. Alina, but the vitamins, fat soluble vitamins, I think people forget, are vitamins A, D, E, and K. And all these years that people are vitamin D deficient and, you know, vitamin A, vitamin E for your skin. It's just so crazy that we don't look at, okay, there's required fat soluble vitamins that you need from fat. And, you know, you need to add fat in your diet for those vitamins, as well as we need to eat fat to burn fat, because we need to balance our blood sugar out. And what we always talk about nutritional therapy is digestion, the, you know, eating foods and being able to absorb those nutrients. But also the second pillar is the blood sugar regulation, and to avoid the surges of insulin. If you want to become a fat burner, you got to get rid of that. And I think having more of the fat in your diet will help stabilize the blood sugar, so we can get our body do what's it's supposed to be doing while we're doing, unless they're doing a 5K race, the rest of the time, you know, the long, slow distance training and sitting at your desk and whatever you're doing, we should be burning fat for fuel. But I think that's the way we were raised, and I'm older than you, but just not eating fat and having fat-free and low-fat everything. And I think a lot of our nutritional deficiencies are connected to that.
Definitely. And a lot of people are still eating that way. And
Oh.
it's great to have just more people just spreading the good word about like what the optimal food is for humans.
Yeah. So talk about for endurance athletes. So if we have Ironman athletes, triathlons, 50K trail running, what are you saying examples of how to implement the Gold Nugget Ghee into their food plan, and how we can use it to be more metabolically efficient, which means burning fat for fuel as we train and race?
To start, people can put it like in their coffee. That's a really good way. It'll like keep you in ketosis and that fat burning mode in the morning. And I like to do my workouts in the morning, like in the ketosis state.
So are you fasted when you work out and just have coffee?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'll usually have coffee and then I'll like go exercise an hour after that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can cook like eggs in it. You can cook salmon. It's a flavor enhancer for anything that you make in your kitchen.
You make
so
chocolate
you can make
eggs then? Do you do the chocolate ghee with your eggs and have chocolate eggs and bacon?
Oh, that sounds good. I'll have to try that. You know, like the chocolate with the bacon in it.
Yeah, that'd be funny. So you have that before, like breakfast, but you can cook vegetables with it. And do you use it during workouts when you're doing, say, if you went back into trail running or Ironman training, we're doing 3-5 hour training sessions. Would you do anything with ghee?
I would use more of the chocolate ones actually. And that would be just like quick spoon, and then you can just keep going, and it's really efficient. It like breaks down in your body within like 5 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
And gets used by your brain almost immediately because it bypasses your liver.
That's right. So that is like MCT oil then, right? Because that's what they say. MCT, it doesn't have to be broken down. You can just use it right away for your brain.
Mm-hmm. And cacao is actually a fat too. And so we put that in the chocolate ghee. It's raw, wild harvested Ecuadorian cacao. So it's a combination of like 2 really good fats for your body.
Huh. And then the honey, you get organic clover honey and cardamom in it as well, just to add a little flavor.
Uh-huh.
But the honey is just not too much, because too much honey, you know, gives me too much sugar, gives me sugar headaches. So yours is just doesn't seem to do that. No,
the ghee is naturally sweet, so you don't really need much honey. We put about 0.6 grams per tablespoon.
Exactly, 0.6.
Exactly, yeah. I make it, so I should know what's in there.
That's funny. Would you make any little packets? I know I just had a guy call me yesterday and ask me what any keto packs to take on this bike trip they're doing, a training trip in Spain. And I would think, you know, I was telling him to get the nut butter packets, but having a ghee packet, the chocolate ghee packet, are you going to make any of those individual serving packets to take when you're training or traveling?
Yeah, the nut packets are really good. I use some of those, and I want to do one with the chocolate ghee, but I'm a little concerned about just waste and trying to keep that downsized. Mm-hmm. But I know there are like some reusable pouches people can get, so they can buy like a jar from us and then keep filling the same pouch over and over, instead of having that like metal material like just go in the trash can.
I know that's a problem. It is a waste. It's convenience is usually means something else is going to happen wrong, right? So it doesn't outweigh the benefit. So the pasture-raised ghees, the high omega-3s, and the conjugated linoleic acid, and that's what you're saying that's good for the brain health as well as the inflammation. The omega-3s help with inflammation.
Right.
The CLAs are helpful for brain health and inflammation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So I think, adding this, I think so many people should experiment with it and take out the dairy, because I know so many people, I've been Bulletproof Coffee when Brock, you said you knew my friend Brock Armstrong and Dave Asprey. When did we start all this? 2012. And, people are just figuring out about Bulletproof Coffee. I'm like, where have you been? It's Fat Coffee. I've been doing it since 2012. So I think if you just do a take out dairy as well as gluten, for most people need to remove it. And what I do with my holistic method program is, do a 30-day challenge, remove those common inflammatory foods, see how you feel. But I have clients that I do individual coaching with, and so many people, they cheat every other day, like same with alcohol. No one can ever remove stuff for 30 days. So I think, taking that out at least 2 weeks, but I think for really to see if you are allergic to pasteurized dairy is that 30-day, 21-day program, and then reintroduce it, but replace it with the ghee, because yours does taste with so much better. Because the other ones I've had, like I said, it just sat in my fridge. I didn't like it. So the taste profile is what makes it so much better, besides it's your own product.
Well, like a lot of ghee is made just in a huge kitchen facility, just pumped out by machines, and there's actual humans filling the jars that we make.
So you have a limit how big your company will get, so you can still do it the hand?
Yeah, exactly.
So you just like, okay, we're only going to make so many bottles a day, or you have goals? Because I know, like, my husband works for a company that just was Seattle company. Now they're going nationwide and getting their gluten-free bread, essential baking company, into Mexico and China, all these places, but they do everything by hand, a lot of things. So is there a certain point that you have to go, you don't want to lose that craft of your hands-on approach?
Yeah, I don't want to compromise like what we're doing and go the whole like machine route.
Yeah.
And also, like, butter is just a finite resource, and there's only so much grass-fed butter out there, and there wouldn't be enough if we wanted to be like in every country on the planet and like take over the world with ghee.
Go ghee. We gotta wait for the cows to, eat up and be ready to make their ghee from the cows. And
yeah, we need more cows. That's another thing.
Right. You got to make your own farm, grass-fed farm.
Yeah. And I wanted to emphasize that, like, for dairy products, it's really important to get organic, because a lot of toxins and heavy metals can get into the finished product. And so if you're getting milk from cows that don't see a day of grass in their lives, you're really doing your body a disservice, because that animal is probably like ridden with inflammation and just isn't living a happy, healthy, stress-free life on pasture.
Yeah, it's so easy to understand when you say that, but how many millions of people still do pasteurized dairy? And the cow having milk, like, that is just so gross to me. But thanks for sharing that information. So let's give your website, and we have a discount code for the whole athlete. People can go to the website and order your product, and what's the best way to order it?
Yeah, just go to goldnuggetghee.com and enter the coupon code whole athlete for 15% off.
Nice. Thank you. And you're at different shows. You're going to Paleo FX and KetoCon, or which conferences are you heading to?
Paleo FX is next.
Nice. I wish I could go. I was trying to sign up, and then I realized I'm hosting a self-care health fair at my studio. And I booked my flight, bought the tickets. I'm hosting an event here in Bellevue, Seattle, so I can't go. But next year, I'm definitely going, because it sounds like such a good, fun event, good networking with fellow peers that are all into the same stuff.
Definitely.
So enjoy, and we'll follow you on Instagram. Are you Facebook? Where do people get your updates?
Yeah, people can find the company Gold Nugget Ghee. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, and then I'm Daniel Draskinis, and you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram too. It's
another part-time job, keeping up with your social media, I'm sure, and your blog. And making the product yourself, it's a lot of work. So I congratulate you on your last 2 years, and I look forward to seeing your company grow, but keeping it to the small batches so you don't lose the quality and authenticity of it.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show today. And we look forward to trying the chocolate ghee on a long training workouts this summer. And I'm trying some ghee in my vegetables I've been cooking for lunchtime. So thanks. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.